So this is National Reading Month, and a new documentary is bringing attention to why children in this country are struggling to learn to read. How is this possible? According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, only 33% of fourth grade children, 33% fourth grade children were reading at proficient levels in 2022. The right to read follows an activist, a first grade teacher, and two families in their fight to teach their students and children to read. Kareem Weaver, the NAACP activist in Oakland, argues that literacy is one of the great civil rights issues of our time.
Illiteracy is the pipeline to prison. It's also the pipeline to homelessness. It's the pipeline to unemployment and depression. And there are publishing companies that sell popular curriculum that do not teach our children to read, making millions of dollars.
From the day I set foot in Oakland, I realized that everything starts with literacy. Everything starts with reading. Science, math, history, you name it. If you can't read, you can't access anything else.
LeVar Burton, former host of Reading Rainbow, is one of the movie's executive producers. He knows a thing or two about reading. He is here with the director, the great Jenny Mackenzie, who is also behind movies like Kick Like a Girl and the Emmy-winning Quiet Heroes. We welcome you both to the table.
Thanks, Gayle.
This documentary, guys, is so good, and I learned so much watching it. I find it so hard to believe in 2023, kids who are going to school,
Yes.
LeVar, still can't read.
That's true.
Why is that? How is that possible?
We have failed them in America, in our school systems. We have failed them by not giving them evidence-based reading instruction.
What does that mean?
Well,
Is it the way they're being taught?
Yes, we went on a tangent with whole language learning, which is to say you teach children to sort of memorize, right, pictures and divine meaning from what they see on the page in terms of the images, not the letters.
Yes.
Phonics got abandoned.
Yes.
And everything went downhill from there.
I know, Jenny, there's a very powerful scene in the documentary where you see this little girl reading. And what she's doing is translating the pictures. When they showed her the words, she could not read.
She could not read them.
Exactly, Gayle. We naturally learn to speak, but
Yes.
reading is a complicated task, and the brain isn't naturally wired to learn how to read. So we have to learn with systematic, explicit instruction. It's great to expose kids to books,
Yeah.
but it's not the same as teaching them how to read.
So, Jenny, there are companies that are making money off of programs that are not actually teaching kids how to read. How did that happen?
I think it happened because we have truly prioritized profits and politics over outcomes for our children. So it's shocking. I mean, when we think that 37% of children in this country are reading below a proficient level, below basic, not
means
proficient.
they can't read.
It truly does, Tony. It means they cannot read. And to create a third of our children who are illiterate is catastrophic. I mean, it's something we should all be screaming about.
It's a compound problem.
It is.
Absolutely.
And LeVar, in the documentary, we meet a first grade teacher who understands this problem and goes against her district's own curriculum to devise a plan that works.
She's a hero. Like many teachers, they are really caught in a bind. They want to do the best they can for our children, but they are constrained by school districts and public policy, and we have to do better.
It affects more kids of color. Why, guys?
Because
I know, big sigh.
Yeah, because our kids get less, always, especially when it comes to education. And in this country, there is a certain population who can afford that additional extra instruction, tutors and the like. Most low-income people, not all low-income people, just can't afford that luxury.
But you both say this is fixable.
Very much so.
It's fixable and not hard to fix.
We have the research, we have the data, and we need to take that research and data and implement it into practice. I mean,
What does that mean?
About
We have the research data. What specifically needs to be done?
what needs to be done, Gayle, is we have to have evidence-based research curriculum for kids to learn to read that is tested for kids across all demographics. I mean, leaving children who are poor and children who are Black and brown behind is not a new problem. We have been facing these kind of inequality issues for years. So we have to test reading instruction with all kids across the country.
It's all because of the way the kids are taught.
Yeah, I'm flipping around on my papers here
Absolutely.
because I have to say here that some of the nation's literacy program leaders, the most popular programs, and we're not naming them on purpose, they say that they stand by their methods and that their work is being mischaracterized.
Yeah, well, that's not
Your
true.
response.
That's not true. The work is not being mischaracterized. They're lying to protect their bottom line. This is America.
You say it's about money.
It is, in part. Not everything is about money, but it is a big part of this equation.
But how are schools and teachers allowed to get away with it? You said literacy starts at home with parents, but really you said it really falls on the schools, does it not?
I think it definitely falls on leaders and policymakers, but change has to begin with us. And I think right now we are a part of a movement that is being talked about, which is really the early literacy crisis. And people need to ask questions. They need to talk to their district leaders. They need to talk to their principals and say, how are you teaching reading
That's what
instruction in
parents
my
should
school?
ask.
That's the question
Absolutely.
parents should ask.
Absolutely.
How are you teaching my child how to read? How are you teaching?
All right. Thank you for coming. And LeVar Burton is on record. He said he would like to be here if Jerika wins. Jerika, LeVar Burton coming for
Jerika
you.
gets slimed.
He wants to see Jerika get slimed. Yikes. LeVar
Hoot is
Burton
no
and
fool.
Jenny Mackenzie. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you
In
so much.
celebration of Read Across America Day and National Reading Month, the right to read will be available for free to all audiences for 1 week beginning today. You can register at therighttoreadfilm.org.